Men, what was your worst date? Showed up to a date. First question she asks, oh, how did you get here? Me, I rode my bike. Her, ugh, I hate cyclists. Whenever I see them I want to run them over in my car. 2 minutes later. Her, so where are you from? Me, I grew up in Canada. Her, I've been to Montreal. Me, oh cool, me too, I really like it. What did you think? Her, I hated it, I thought it was dirty and the French people are really rude. 2 minutes later, talking about work. Me, I was in consulting. Her, ugh, me too, I hated it. I didn't like a single consultant I met. We left after 30 minutes and never talked to each other again. I asked the girl out on a date in college. When she showed up she brought another guy with her. When I was in college, a girl I knew asked us, her gal friends, if we wanted to see a movie together. Once we arrived at the theater, we saw a very confused guy, who was also a part of our larger friend group, standing next to her. After we got our tickets, she grabbed his hand and said they were sitting together, and I blurted out, are you guys on a date? In my defense, I was, and am, an idiot. After the movie, we were all still confused and unsure how the rest of the night should play out. Someone suggested coffee, but the girl grabbed her date's hand, giggled, and said they were taking off. The next day I heard she asked if she could see his dorm. When they got to his floor, on his way to his room, she marched into the common area and sat on one of the couches. He followed, sat down next to her, and she got up and sat in another couch opposite him. She then proceeded to spend the next 3 hours asking him questions about his childhood and family before abruptly standing up and saying she had to go back to her room. She was tired. No, don't walk her back. The next morning she called up one of her girlfriends and complained he didn't make any moves on her. Zero romantic vibes is how she described it. He called me up and said he spent the entire evening in a state of confusion. I am female and I am also confused about what exactly she wanted or expected to happen. My date used 2-hour street parking when we went to see Interstellar movie. We had to leave about 20 minutes before the end of the movie to get to her car in time. I still haven't seen the end. Poor dude. That's such a good movie, this is horrible. Quick and easy reply. When I was 18, I went on a date to pub with crush from school. Hour into date she asks to borrow $40, edit, which I did give her. 15 minutes later she's leaving with another guy. Wow. That hurts. Still cheaper than a therapist or lawyer. I was on a date with a friend's friend. I didn't know her, only seen her around from time to time. Never talked to her before. So my friend hooked us up for a date. She looked decent so I went for it. As I picked her up everything went smooth and fine. Took her to dinner. And as we ate she suddenly started going on about having diarrhea. She literally did not stop talking about it. Even after she took a 22 minutes toilet break. The thing is I still am a regular at that place and she was the kind of person that couldn't whisper. So the whole 1.5 hours we've been there she probably talked about having diarrhea for 85% of the time, including toilet time. I really don't think she stopped talking in the toilet. I wasn't embarrassed, I felt more like I disrespected this restaurant with me taking her there. Went on 3 dates, nice dinner, met her mom and all that. During the 3rd date she got a call in the middle of dinner, then she finished the call and said, sorry, that's my boyfriend, this is the only time he gets to call from basic, and then she couldn't understand why I thought that was fucked up. Her reasoning was he was in another city so she can do whatever she wants. Never understood girls like this. She wasn't worth your time. I wonder if that logic works for him as well. Also, you met her mom? You're wondering why the mom allowed it? Some people are just shitty. My ex-wife went to a weekend, 8-hour per day, college about 50 miles away to take 4 courses she was having trouble getting into at her local college due to them being full by the time she could register. Her parents lived 10 minutes away, so she crashed there on Friday and Saturday nights. About a month in she started dating one of her teachers. Her parents knew, but said nothing to me. I didn't find out until around 4 months later when her sister told me. By then we had been separated about 2 months. An internet date and I were having a great conversation. I mentioned I was in the army for 7 years, she thanked me for my service and said, "Every girl knows, if you want a smart guy, you date Navy or Air Force. If you want a really great looking guy, you date a Marine." Me, what about the army? Jane, that's the one you're married to while you're sleeping with the other 3. I'm in the military. This shit is common and it's disgusting. I would recommend breaking up with anyone who aren't married to prior to deploying/going to basic. Save yourself the heartbreak. That's not saying marriages are safe from this shit either. It was at a coffee shop in a library. She showed up and the very first thing she did was remove her shoes and put them on the table. Later she mentioned how she was obsessed with victims of serial killers and had them tattooed on her body. Jesus. You dodged a bullet? What a psycho. Who puts their shoes on the table? My ex-husband, as it turned out. Always live with someone before you get married. I once met up with an online date and went to Red Lobster. Pretty girl, pretty decent conversation leading up to our meetup, so I was pretty hopeful. After about 5 minutes in she pulls out her phone. Which is of course normally fine, however she remained glued to it for the next 20 minutes. I tried to continue the conversation but her responses became more and more limited. Eventually I got a bit fed up and excused myself to the restroom. Taught the waitress on my way and paid for my portion of the meal, and left without another word. It took her 20 minutes to text me and ask where I went. I told her I didn't want to interrupt the date with her phone. I hope she sat there and reflected on this for a while, probably didn't, but one can hope. Sadly, she probably saw him as the asshole for walking out on her date. People who do this see nothing wrong with it. In her eyes, everything was going well and then he just left. Took her 20 minutes to realize you're gone, damn. Well, maybe she thought he was having the diarrhea. This may be long story. Back in 2003, I recently moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. I decided I was going to sign up for Match.com and try online dating for the first time. Started messaging a few girls and eventually made a connection and set up a date. We decided to meet at P.F. Chang's. We had discussed that it was going to be casual wear, but of course she showed up in an evening gown, first sign. She was super gorgeous and looked great in the gown, but also looked completely out of place. Although, she was very hot. She stood next to me at the bar and ordered 2 glasses of wine. One she immediately downed, the second she took a sip and turned to me and said hi. Second sign, kind of. We had some awkward small talk and I mentioned her evening gown. She told me she collects them and decided to wear one tonight to dazzle me. Third sign, but I am staying in this. We were seated at a table and as the waiter walked up, she ordered a bottle of wine. Fourth sign, okay, she likes wine, and she's hot, I'm still in it. We have more awkward small talk and eventually order food, and by the time I have finished my first beer that I had ordered while back at the bar, she already finished the bottle of wine, and orders another. Fifth sign, and now I am planning my escape plan. I stand and ask if she knows where the restrooms are, and as she is pointing in the direction behind me, I turn to look, and I feel a stabbing pain in my right ass cheek, which literally makes me flinch in pain. I grab my ass as I turn to see what just bit me, and she is giggling. Also she is holding a 5-inch long pin, which she just used to stab my ass. Sixth sign. And I am done. I walk to the bathroom and go in one of the stalls, drop my pants and do an hand sweep of my right ass cheek, and my hand comes back bloody. I use toilet paper and apply pressure to eventually stop the bleeding. I zip up and go stare at myself in the mirror as I wash my hands and have a Pulp Fiction moment, where I say to myself in the mirror, okay, go back out there, tell her this evening is over and that you are going home. Don't ever do this online dating shit no more. So I walk out and find the waiter, I pay the bill and close the check. I tell the waiter to hold off serving anything until I am finished talking with my date and I am walking to the door. She agrees. As I walk up to the table, I am noticing people are giving me the hairy eyeball and realize that my date is silently sobbing at the table. For some reason I am the asshole in this situation. Maybe they didn't see the assault on my ass, but maybe only the death glare I gave her as I held my ass cheek. I sat down and asked why is she crying. She said that she fucked up by drinking so much wine and she thought she was being cute and funny poking me with the hat pin. She said it's an antique and she collects those, too. I told her that I was pretty shocked when she stabbed me with it and that my ass was bleeding where she stabbed me. I told her that this evening got off on the wrong foot and that I had already paid the bill and that we should try it again another time, not ever. With that, she snapped out of her sobbing quietly and began yelling at me, "Wait, you're leaving? You can't leave me." I said, "Look, the evening has taken a bad turn and I just want to go." She stood up and yelled, "No one leaves me, I leave them," and started marching to the door of the restaurant, forgetting that there were 3 steps she had to walk down towards the entrance of the restaurant. She took a tumble down the stairs, purse flying, pashmina wrapped around her foot, and landed hard on the bottom step. As I stood there, I was like, WTF, could this get any fucking worse? And it did. She started crying and holding her ankle. Waiters and manager came running, as well as an off-duty paramedic. They started working on her there, icing and elevating her left leg, because she might have broken her ankle. The paramedic called 911 and within minutes the ambulance was there. They got her on the gurney and were wheeling her out the door of P.F. Chang's to the ambulance. Throughout this whole scene, I never said a word. I was just an observer hoping this was all a shitty dream, and hoping that as the ambulance doors closed, I could just walk to my car unnoticed. Nope, not so lucky. She started screaming for her boyfriend, the guy she had been on a date with. Everyone looked at me. I started to say, "Wait, hold on, I'm not her boyfriend," when I was cut off by the paramedic and he said, "They are taking her to Presbyterian Medical Center, follow them." I got in my car and was taking my time, but the ambulance was fucking waiting for me. I pulled up behind them and flashed my lights and they took off. Throughout the drive to the hospital, I was thinking of just going home, but I did feel some responsibility to at least see this nightmare through to the end. It was a light night at the ER and she was getting the full treatment from everyone because she was gorgeous and dressed in an evening gown. She had rays which showed no broken bones, so they put her in an air cast and crutches. When she was released, I was there to take her home. She wasn't going to be able to drive her car, which was still at the restaurant. We drove silently for the most part, except when she had to tell me where to turn. We eventually pulled up to her house, and I had to help her out of the car and up to her front door, where she asked me to come in. I said the evening was eventful, but I have to go. She then said, "Well, the evening doesn't have to be a complete disaster, come on in, sit back on the couch and let me take care of you with my mouth." I literally ran off that porch laughing hysterically like Curly from the Three Stooges until I got in my car and hauled ass out of there. I deleted my account and never used Match.com again. Worst date ever? Meh, what was your worst date? Leave a comment. And subscribe to this channel if you wanna see more same videos.